factors of production. Labor is one of the factors of production along with land, capital and enterprise, and labor market is the market where workers compete for jobs and employees compete for workers. In the neoclassical framework, it is assumed that capital and labor are directly and smoothly substitutable for one another. However, it must be understood that labor as an input to the production is way different from the capital in the production process. Labor power is what a poor has, and it is through a productive employment he sells his labor power to meet his basic minimum needs. But when this labor power is substituted with capital, it results in unemployment or a change in the nature of employment. Hence, it can be said that even if economy is on a higher growth trajectory, the higher economic growth would not serve any purpose if the labor force of that nation are not provided with any meaningful and productive employment opportunities. Given the fact that labor power affects the lives of workers directly, issue of labor market reforms is altogether a very sensitive issue which would in a way affect the entire economy. Labor market reforms attempt at changing the institutions and production relations in the labor markets, which are characterized by various laws, rules and regulations which has both direct and indirect impact on the labor demand, labor supply, wages, etc. These laws and regulations are basically meant for protection of labor rights and his social security, and also to prevent the exploitation of labor at the hands of the employers. In the recent years, the issue of labor market reforms has taken a center stage of policy debate in India, with arguments pouring in from both the quarters. After studying this module, you shall be able to understand the role of labor market regulation and reforms in India, arguments in favor of and against the labor market regulation, major legislations governing labor relating in India and legal framework for labor protection in India, recent labor reform measures undertaken by the Government of India. The arguments against the labor market regulation. In the contemporary economic policy debates concerning labor market reforms are directed against the labor market regulations so as to have a labor market flexibility, which in turn is prescribed as the key to enhance productivity of the labor force, to make the economy more competitive and also to accelerate the employment generation, which in together will step up the economic growth. At the core of this argument lies the Washington Consensus developed in 1980, which provided the economic critique of labor law against the regulation and saw state interference as the source of distortions and inefficiencies in the operation of markets. This argument depended on the premise that markets, if unregulated, will move naturally or spontaneously to an equilibrium state, and hence it is necessary to deregulate the labor market and remove or cut protective provision for labor so as to improve the overall economic performance. In this regard, some of the arguments put forward against the labor market regulation are as follows. Regulations in the labor market prevent wages to equal their marginal product in equilibrium and thus it leads to misallocation of resources and allocative inefficiency. Given the fact that an economy is often in dynamic state, regulations may create major obstacles to the adjustment of labor markets to the dynamic changes in the economy. It tends to redistribute income from capital to labor and may reduce the profitability of investors. Consequently, this may discourage the investment and hence dampen the prospect of economic growth. The arguments in favor of labor market regulation and institution. On the other hand, those in favor of labor market regulation argue that interventions in the labor market play an important role in the protection of labor rights and welfare, particularly in the adverse market conditions. Some of the arguments put forward in this regard are as follows. Absence of regulation may lead to unfair outcome in the labor market, such as underpayment to the workers, hazardous working conditions, etc., because of the fact that there is huge asymmetries in economic powers of workers and employers. The enforcement of legally mandated labor standards through legislations force the employers to shift attention from cost-cutting issues to the productivity enhancement measures through training and technical innovation. The faith in laissez-faire or free market economy is premised on the concept of perfect competition and Pareto optimality. However, labor markets, like every other market, consist of various imperfections and is subject to market failure. Hence, it becomes necessary for government interventions in the labor market through rules and regulations so as to get rid of the market failure. Labor regulations may also fulfill important distributive role in an economy, particularly from the point of view of the vulnerable categories of workers. The regulatory legislation in India. Labor laws define various categories of labor which enjoy different degrees of protection and differentiate between establishments to which they apply or do not apply. The basic purpose of most measures of labor regulation in India in general has been to protect the labor from exploitation by employers, to protect the right of the labor and his social security, especially in unfavorable market conditions, as it was recognized that the balance of power between labor and capital is unequal and is skewed in favor of capital, wherein the bargaining power of labor is relatively very low. Yet, most labor laws in India protects only a small proportion of the workforce, and ironically, they consist of the workers who have better bargaining position and have already got a relatively better deal. The most exploited and disadvantaged are generally left out of the protective provisions of labor laws. With respect to the legislation rights on the labor subject, the Constitution of India puts labor on the concurrent list, which means that both the centre and the state can legislate in this respect. Consequently, there have been a huge multiplicity of laws, most of them applying to the larger enterprises, comprising the organized sector employing only a small fraction of all the workers. There have been about 170 labor laws enacted by the various state governments and about 50 central laws enacted by the Parliament of India. The major labor laws in India can be broadly divided into the following groups on the basis of the broad subject area covered by them: condition of work, industrial relations, wages and remuneration, social security, insurance and labor welfare, gender equity and disadvantaged groups. Major acts governing the condition of work includes First, the Factory Act of 1948. The original version of the Act was passed by the colonial government in 1884 and the revision version of the Act was passed in 1948. The Act applies to all the establishments carrying out the manufacturing process and employing 10 or more workers with use of power and 20 or more workers without the use of power. It attempts to deal with the issues relating to health, safety and welfare of the workers and stipulates the standards on various aspects like working space, sanitation, drinking water, toilets and recess during the work, etc. Regular periodic inspection of factory premises is to be made to ensure the compliance. Second, Shops and Commercial Establishment Act. The Act supplements the Factories Act, which in fact is legislated by the state government on the lines of a central model. It applies to the establishments other than the factories and government offices such as shops, restaurants and hotels, places of entertainment like cinemas and smaller electrical, mechanical, repair and manufacturing enterprises. Third, the Industrial Employment or Standing Orders Act of 1946. It is applicable to the industrial units with 100 or more workers excluding the management which are required to frame standing orders, that is a statement defining the conditions of employment in an establishment like shift working, attendance, work time, termination of employment, suspension and dismissal for misconduct and grievance redress procedure, etc. It aimed at ensuring orderly conduct of business at workplace and protecting the workers against the exploitation and unfair treatment by the employers. The principal laws relating to wages and remunerations are: first, the Payment of Wages Act of 1937. It is a central act, but the responsibility of its enforcement lies on the states. The Act specifies the standard wage period, payment day, mode of payment, inspection, and prohibits the arbitrary and unfair deductions from wages. Second, the Minimum Wages Act of 1948. Given the fact that a large part of Indian workers were in the unorganized sector with almost no bargaining power, the workers are likely to be exploited by the employers and paid below subsistence wages, and hence the Act was passed in 1948, soon after the independence. The Act provides for fixation and implementation of minimum wages with the enforcement responsibility vested in the states, and therefore we have vast differences in the minimum wages fixed in different states and for different activities and occupations. Third, Payment of Bonus Act of 1965. It provides for compulsory payment of an annual bonus to the persons employed in certain establishment on the basis of profits or on the basis of production or productivity and for matter connected therewith. Fourth, Equal Remuneration Act of 1976. The Act provides for the payment of equal remuneration to men and women worker and for prevention of discrimination on the ground of sex against women in the matter of employment opportunities. Taken together, these wage-related laws are a league to contribute to the problem of rigidity in the Indian labour market. Major acts on social security and insurance are: first, the Workmen's Compensation Act of 1923. Enacted by the colonial government, it aimed at providing relief to the workers against the disability and death resulting from injury and accidents at work. It provides for compensation that for employers need to pay to the workers for the injury caused to them by accident at worksite or occupational diseases resulting in death or in total or partial disablement. Second, Employees State Insurance Act of 1948. The ESI Act is by far the most comprehensive social security legislation covering the risk of sickness, maternity, employment related injuries and disabilities. It extends to all factories under the Factories Act and other commercial establishments employing 20 or more persons and to workers earning less than a certain salary limit within these. The Employees State Insurance Scheme is funded through an insurance mode and it requires the contributions from both the employers and the employees to be paid for insurance against sickness, maternity, funeral and disablement. Third, the Employee Provident Fund Act of 1952. The Act supplements the ESI as it provides for the old age benefits as well. It provides for the institution of a provident fund in all factories and establishments with 20 or more workers and specifies the deposit linked provident fund or pension scheme. The fund is created out of the contribution of workers and employers. The two acts, ESI Act and EPF Act, together provide for all the major risks for which security is ordinarily provided to the workers, namely sickness, accident, maternity and old age. Fourth, Maternity Benefit Act of 1961. It provides cover to the workers working in the establishment not covered by ESI Act. Fifth, Payment of Gratuity Act of 1971. It is applicable to all establishments employing 10 or more workers under which gratuity as a superannuation benefit is provided to the regular and permanent workers. Overall, the Social Security legislations providing cover against contingencies are generally applicable to establishments employing 10 or more workers, and the self-employed and employees of the small establishments are left out of the Social Security cover provided by the above legislations. Efforts are being made to extend their coverage to the workers in the unorganized sector, and initiatives like Social Security for Unorganized Sector Workers Act 2008 is a step forward to evolve the social security schemes for the unorganized workers on a statutory basis. Major acts relating to the employment security and industrial relations are: first, the Trade Union Act of 1926. It specifies the conditions that trade union needs to satisfy so as to have the recognition under the Act, and it also confers the legal status to trade unions with the right to raise the demands on behalf of the workers and lead them to take the industrial action. Second, Industrial Disputes Act of 1947. It provides for institutions and procedures for adjudication of industrial disputes. The specific provision that have been under intense debate and discussion, and which also divide establishments into segments in terms of the application of different conditions for action, relate to employment security or employment protection. An establishment has to fulfill certain conditions before it can lay off or retrench the workers or close down the enterprise. While it is often said that the restrictive provisions of ID Act makes it difficult for employers to adjust their workforce through layoff and retrenchment or by closing down enterprises, the provisions of the Act in the essence were motivated by the government's concern about unemployment. Third, the Contract Labour Regulation and Abolition Act of 1970. The main objective of the Act is the gradual abolition of the casual labour hiring, prohibiting the use of contract labour in core activities of an enterprise carried out on a perennial basis and regulating the working condition of the casual labour. The preceding description of a few important labour laws which coexist with a large number of several other laws relating specifically to different aspects of employment and different segments of workforce suggests that India has a comprehensive regulatory framework covering all the aspects and all the sections of the workers. As a result, a view has emerged that the Indian labour market is highly overregulated, stifling the industrial growth and restricting the growth of employment. The reality, however, turns out to be different, if not the opposite, if we look at the coverage and effectiveness of the laws. For example, most of the labour laws are applicable to a very small proportion of the workforce who are mainly working in the organized sector, and more than 90% of the workforce engaged in the informal employment are hardly affected by these legislations. The recent labour reform measures. The multiplicity of labour laws and difficulty in their implementation and compliance has always been cited as an impediment to industrial development in India. In a major initiative for ensuring the compliance and promoting ease of doing business, the government has initiated a number of labour reform measures, and amendments have been proposed to labour laws to align them with the demand of a changing labour market. Some of the recent initiatives undertaken by the Government of India with respect to the labour reforms are as follows. First, amendment of the Apprentice Act of 1961. The Act was amended in December 2014 so as to make it more responsive to the industry and youth. The Apprentice Protsahan Yojana was launched to incentivize the apprentices working in the micro, small and medium enterprises within the manufacturing sector. Given the large employment potential in MSME sector, the step could lead to an increase in the productivity of the workers and increase the operational efficiency while ensuring job creation on a large scale. Second, Shram Suvidha Portal. It is a unified labour portal scheme which has been launched for timely redressal of grievances and for creating a conducive environment for industrial development. The main features of this portal includes: first, unique labour identification number to facilitate online registration; second, self-certification to help filling of the self-certified and simplified single online return instead of 16 separate returns by industry; third, transparent labour inspection scheme to reduce corruption. The inspection would be via computerized system as per risk-based criteria, and the inspection reports would be uploaded within 72 hours by the labour inspectors. Third, Project Panchdeep under employees, State Insurance Corporation. The objective is digitalization of the internal and external processes to ensure efficiency in operations, especially the services to the employees and the insured persons. Fourth, Universal Account Number and digitalization of database under the Employees Provident Fund. Digitization of database of EPF subscribers and allotment of universal account number to each member to facilitate portability of member account. UAN is being seeded with bank account, Aadhaar card and other KYC details to promote the financial inclusion. Direct access to EPF accounts will enable the members to access the consolidated previous accounts. Fifth, Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana. This is a scheme for unorganized workers under the Unorganized Workers Social Security Act of 2008. It is a smart card based cashless health insurance scheme including maternity benefit, which provides a cover of Rs 30,000 per family per annum on a family floater basis to below poverty line families in the unorganized sector. It is proposed to extend the RSBY to all the unorganized workers in a phased manner. Sixth, a National Council for Vocational Training Management Information System portal has been developed for streamlining the functioning of the industrial training institutes, apprenticeship schemes and assessment or certification of all the NCVT training courses. Seventh, the National Career Service is being implemented as a mission mode project to transform the National Employment Service and provide various job related services such as online registration of job seekers and job vacancies, career counseling, vocational guidance and information on skill development courses, internships and apprenticeship. Way forward to the labor market reforms. Given that there are too many laws governing the labor market, often covering the same aspect such as conditions of work, wages, employment protection, industrial relations and social security, there is an urgent need for rationalization, simplification and consolidation of the labor laws in India. Ambiguities in the interpretation of most of the labor laws must be removed at the earliest. The operational issue of the labor laws relating to transparency, simplicity, effective implementability must be addressed. It must be ensured that there is adequate coordination between the state and the central laws concerning labor welfare so as to remove the ambiguity with respect to jurisdiction and issues relating to implementation of labor laws. Given that the use of contract labor has become a large-scale phenomena in Indian industry, it seems necessary to allow the use of contract labor where production requirement justifies it, but discourage its use just for denying workers the benefits they would have been entitled to. What is important in this connection is to ensure that the contract labor is paid the same wages as the regular workers for similar work and that a minimum measure of social security must be provided to contract workers like the regular workers. Most importantly, it is necessary to ensure human conditions of work, minimum wages and a floor of social security to all the workers in the unorganized sector, given that an overwhelming majority of Indian workers work in highly competitive, exploitative and unregulated labor market with very poor condition of work, low earnings, no employment security and no social protection. Let us now summarize what we have discussed in this module. Labor reforms measures in India should aim at simplifying and rationalizing the complex and ambiguous extant pieces of labor legislation into a simple code that allows for labor adjustment with the adequate social and income security for the workers. India should develop a labor code like most other countries wherein all laws are consolidated and codified. Labor reform measures in India must have welfare of labor at its core and the agenda of labor reforms should aim at improving the conditions of work, wages and earnings and should include the provisions for job security and social security. Along with streamlining and simplification of labor laws, another key area that requires urgent attention is the improvement in the infrastructure and mechanism for the enforcement and effective implementation of the labor laws. Excessive obsession with the labor market flexibility would serve no purpose as it is not the labor market flexibility which would accelerate growth and employment. Sustained economic growth would come from investment in physical and social infrastructure and acceleration in the rate of aggregate capital formation. Moreover, economic growth should not be seen as an end in itself. It should serve the wider goal of human and social development, which is cohesive wherein workers' rights are also protected through suitable regulations in the labor market.